Hello, and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I'm your host, John Shannon, and today I'm joined by Stephanie Hofhenke, who is the owner of String Marketing. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, John. Happy to be here.
Yeah, would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are, what you do, and the business that you're in?
As you mentioned, I'm Stephanie Hofhenke. I'm the owner of String Marketing. We're a group of individuals that help dietitians with their marketing, everything from branding to websites, and then support technology to execute their marketing. We're a team that is, while the business is based in Minneapolis, we're a team that's nationwide. And I've been doing this for 15 years. When I
Congratulations.
started, it was a little while ago, but still fresh in mind.
Congratulations, that's great.
Thank you.
So you've got a pretty specific niche you work
Yeah,
with. Talk
yeah,
about what that's meant for your business, being able to focus on really
yeah.
that type of niche as your ideal client.
Yeah, that's a good question. We focus on dietitians. The big, huge benefit of it from a marketing standpoint is easier to target your audience. You can network within that. I do a lot of speaking in the industry, have a lot of networking contacts. And that's just been a huge asset to me. It makes my marketing a lot easier. I can't put things on autopilot. You never really can in business, but I can take little breaks in between, and my business still goes because my name is being shared out there. And that has really helped me throughout. And then as far as being able to uh, what we're able to offer our clients, because we know them so well and we're not skipping from industry to industry, they have a very unique kind of business. We're able to really tailor our offerings in a way that makes it easier for us to deliver, and it makes it more efficient and effective for our clients. So it's really kind of a win-win on both sides. Our clients benefit from our expertise in the industry, and we are benefiting from a marketing standpoint and just being able to be known, and it makes our work easier because we can be a little bit more confident about what works.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to entertain that question because I know the importance of identifying who your ideal client is that you want to speak to so that you can speak to them properly
Yeah,
to get
it's
their
huge.
attention. So 15 years in business, 15 years ago, what was the initial spark that inspired you to start this type of business?
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like I kind of fell into it, but I always kind of wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always kind of had that little spark. I didn't quite know what that meant. I didn't care if I really owned a store or a dry cleaner or whatever it might be. I just kind of had that spirit within me. Um, as I started my career, I tended to rise up into leadership positions quite often just because I did have that entrepreneurial spirit. And obviously, that always puts you in a position when you are kind of independent and things like that, wanting to be on your own. But when the catalyst for actually starting my business is kind of funny, because when I went to school and before I started my career, digital marketing didn't exist when I went to college. I had a combination. My degree was in IT, business computer systems. And then I had a minor in my marketing. So I kind of had a little mixture going on during school, but it wasn't really geared towards what the world is today at all. And so as things evolved, because I was younger in the corporations in which I was working, they would kind of put me in the role of like, hey, figure this out, like try to be on Instagram or, those kind of things. And because I kind of understood the technology and trying to integrate things together, it became a real asset to them. So when I was at an impasse with my career and needed to leave the company that I was at, just wasn't working out, and I was really feeling anxious about wanting to have my own thing. I didn't quite know what it was. I called my company String Marketing because I liked the technical aspects of marketing, but I didn't really think of myself as a big marketing agency or anything like that. I kind of started out just helping companies and individuals that I had networked with previously. I was in the pet industry. And so I kind of worked, kind of on the side type of a thing, right towards the end of my professional career. And then it kind of rolled into it. So when I needed to end that relationship with my employer, I did some soul searching. I was like, well, why don't I just try whatever I can do for people, like whether it's build a website or get them on Instagram or automate something for their business, because I understood business computer systems very well and how to deal with the tech. But I also kind of like this marketing side of it and getting the word out for people and creating and doing design and things like that. So I kind of did a little jack of all trades type of thing when I first started and just kind of piecemealed it together.
So thinking back to when you first started this business, did you have any kind of misconceptions there at the beginning about starting up a business? And if so, what were they? And then what'd you do to overcome them?
Yeah, for sure I did. I mean, I kind of started out a little bit of a freelancer, so that's, a little bit different environment, but um and because I started out kind of happenstance, I guess I didn't have a ton of expectations. I kind of was just like, well, geez, they'll pay me $100, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Just kind of really happy that I had things independently to do. But as I grew and as I've gone, I've had so many iterations of expectations and being like, oh, it is so hard to hire. Oh, it's really hard to be virtual 100%. And just some of these things that you overcome, and you really have to be ingenuitive when you're an entrepreneur. I think no matter what kind of business you have, because you don't always have the benefit of being able to just copy somebody else and what they're doing completely. And sometimes, especially in the digital marketing world, you're kind of making things up as you go because some of this hasn't been done before, or you don't have all of the information. It's not time tested tools sometimes, right? So I kind of learned early to throw those expectations out the door because they can kind of hold you back and just approach everything as like, well, I don't quite know what all this looks like. I'm going to just take it one step at a time. And as long as you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, you figure it out. And sometimes you just got to say, well, it's not worth it. It's not worth figuring that out. Go a different direction. So.
Okay, good. Well, maybe make some comments about work-life balance at the beginning of starting this business, and now it sounds like things have changed for the better. And then, is there anything that you do to kind of keep motivated or things focused in the right areas around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So work-life balance is interesting when you work at home solely. And I've gone through the iteration in the 15 years where when I started my business, my kids were in middle school and now they're in their mid-20s. And so, there's been a lot of iterations there, but I've learned some little tricks. Like I always wear the same shoes only when I'm in my office. When I take those shoes off, I'm not working anymore. And it
That's
kind of
interesting. Cool.
yeah, it signals to my brain like you're done. You're not going to think about work. You kind of don't step back into it unless you put those shoes back on. And I don't always want to put those shoes back on. So I try to hold by that rule as much as I possibly can. And then anytime you have a business, of course, my husband also owns his own business. We're both support each other. I think the spousal support is so important in business and just understanding the unique pressures that each other are under. And if your spouse isn't a business owner, just that they understand that this is a little bit unique. Sometimes you got to try to figure things out. Sometimes you got to work longer hours, but there's other times when you can take off early, right? So just knowing that you might have to sacrifice and not always have that balance all the time, and you certainly won't, and most of the time you don't. But sometimes you have a lot more freedom too. So you kind of got to decide, what works best for you.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate you sharing that. I appreciate you sharing that little mindset tip too. Everybody's has them, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah, right. Having little tips.
So let's talk a little bit about in your industry, right? How are you
Mhm.
staying adaptable and open to change? And what are some of the things you're doing to remain innovative?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, obviously in this area, the advent of AI, we also adopt different softwares. We're always having to update our technology stack because we build websites and deal with technologies. Um, and automations are a big part of us. So yeah, adapting is constant learning is a must. I'm learning right now how to navigate what I need to learn and what I need to allow my team to take on. And that's kind of hard because I kind of want to know how everything works so I can manage it. So and there is an important aspect to that, but the level and the depth of knowledge that you have to have because of how fast you have to adapt. We've also had in the past year, I had a key team member retire. And that's been a big change because, somebody that had been with me, small business, we're, a small team, about 5 people, and with contractors outside of that. We and when somebody retires like that, she brought a lot to the table. She was with me for 9 years, and really kind of had her own product offering to some extent. Like her skills just weren't with anybody else on the team. So that was like adapt from a big change standpoint, although it was a good change and it needed to happen and she needed what she needed. But we needed to kind of reapproach our product offering and say, well, do we want to try to fill that spot or do we want to shift and adapt and like use the resources that we have? And at the same time, look at the market shift, like with marketing, websites are important, is still very important, and that's still an important aspect of business. However, when some people, like a lot of our client base, have a lot of startups and or really small micro businesses, side businesses and things like that, and a full website with branding and naming and all those kind of things financially aren't always in the cards, and nor is it always the most effective way to get started, right? So we kind of had to step back and take a look at our approach to that and say, how can we make this more accessible to our audience? How can we empower them with tools to be able to do things on their own? Because there are a lot of them that are trying to build their own tools and things like that. And we think that's great. No matter where you are in business, we want to, we think that, yeah, you should have the tools available to. Previously, we kind of serviced only the part of the market that people were in business, at least 2 years, if not 6 years. And they were really ready to level up. But now we're coming into an era where we're servicing the full market. And really offering a whole lot for the people who are trying to do a little bit of DIY. We're doing a lot of trainings, which I'm just really loving. So that was a big change for me, just being able to do like trainings and small groups and all that kind of stuff, a different dynamic for me rather than just selling big projects. So I'm excited about the change. Although, yeah, you got to kind of look at all the factors and say, well, what's really happening right now? And it's kind of painful. Like when you're going through it, you kind of don't know where you're going, and that's really painful. But you come out on the other end if you keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, Stephanie, I appreciate you sharing that because what you just shared was sometimes when you have a change like that, it gives you an opportunity to rethink things,
Yeah.
right? And maybe you still want to do them the same, or maybe it's an opportunity to do something a little bit differently, or maybe it's even an opportunity to kind of restructure things entirely. So that's a good learning for the crew. So let's talk a little bit about the future. So could you offer us a glimpse into your future plans and goals that you have for your business?
Yeah. So, like I said, we're kind of moving into a little bit more training, a little bit more empowering, things like that, creating tools that are a little bit more templated, but you're able to take them and customize them, and being more accessible for the market. While we still can do, custom websites and brands and things like that, we're kind of putting a lot more of our time into that. And I think the big catalyst for that is just obviously, like I was saying, the shift. But we also have adopted some tools that one thing that's happening in marketing, and as everybody knows, there's so many subscriptions. Everybody's got to subscribe to this, and then you got to try to get this program to connect to that program. And for business owners, especially small business owners, that can be very costly to have to hire people to understand that, or do it themselves costly from their own time standpoint. And so what we're really doing is looking at that and trying to solve that on both ends with all-in-one type tools that are already connected and are already set up with a templated way, like sales pipelines, things like that for our audience. So that's the part I'm probably the most excited about. It kind of takes my IT background, and I can completely nerd out about getting these things automated, set it up, and templated for our audience. And in the way exactly like they need it. So yeah, that's what it looks like for us going forward here, at least in the short term.
Yeah, being a business owner can be really overwhelming sometimes, just with all the things that you need to consider within your business, and having some of these things get better connected is a great idea. So thanks you for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah.
So knowing that this show is targeted towards people who are going to be maybe in their first few years of business, do you have any final thoughts or words of advice you'd like to share with our audience today?
Yeah. So I got so many things, but congratulations for one. Keep going, keep doing it. About expectations, just be careful with expectations. Always expect it's going to be work. There's no set it and forget it, no matter how automated you get, no matter how easy or big an opportunity is. Owning your own business is always going to be work, but there's a huge upside to that. And so just keep on going on that. Yeah, and when things don't go your way and you have the dip, you're in the lows of the business, even, if things aren't taking off. Just know that whatever happens, if you lose an account or if you get thrown in a different direction or whatever it might be, that could be good, it could be bad, and you don't know that yet. And just assume you don't know and just assess it and say, well, where can I go from here? And look at it as an opportunity. Always look at it as, because those little setbacks can really add up and add the most stress to you as you're starting your business. So just look at it as like, I don't know if it's good or bad. It feels bad, but who cares? Just move forward.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I know. We don't get to pick and choose the opportunities and challenges that we're faced with. We can only choose how we decide to respond to them.
Right.
And in
Right.
choosing to decide how to respond, you're starting to regain control. So that's
Exactly.
really cool. That's good advice. So thank you so much for your time today, Stephanie.
Well, thanks for having me on. It was really wonderful talking with you.
Yeah, it was great meeting you and learning more about your entrepreneurial journey. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.